He was the first man to fly the Atlantic solo. A god in a leather helmet, America worshipped him. But it was all a facade. Behind the mask of the ultimate American hero hid a monster obsessed with death and twisted experiments. You think you know the story of the Lindbergh baby kidnapping? Forget it. That's not even the tip of the iceberg. The truth, buried until 2003, proves one thing. The 20th century's greatest hero was a certified psychopath. Cult of the Black Laboratory. Let's start with his obsession: immortality. Lindbergh believed that democracy was weak and that only biological superiority mattered. In the 1930s, Lucky Lindy practically moved into the Rockefeller Institute to work with the controversial Nobel laureate Alexis Carrel. Carrel was a bizarre figure who wore black robes while operating and believed in clairvoyance. Together, they built a nightmare device out of black glass, the Perfusion pump. This wasn't just medical research, it was dark science. Lindbergh believed that the elite of the white race shouldn't die like commoners. He spent years keeping organs, hearts, thyroids, kidneys, alive in glass jars, watching them pulsate for weeks outside the body. They famously kept a piece of a chicken embryo heart alive and beating for over 20 years. Lindbergh would stare at these jars for hours, mesmerized. He famously said that the quality of men matters more than the quantity. He wasn't trying to save humanity. He was trying to create a way to swap out failing organs like spare parts in an engine, creating a master race that could rule forever. Breeding the perfect wife. Before he even had a family, Lindbergh treated humans like livestock. When he decided to marry, he didn't look for love. He looked for a breeder. We now know he actually wrote a list of requirements for a future wife, focusing on her genetic stock. She had to be physically robust, intelligent, and compliant. He found Anne Morrow, the shy daughter of a diplomat. But he didn't court her. He trained her. On their dates, he didn't take her to dinner. He took her up in a plane and performed dangerous loops and dives to test her nerves. He forced her to learn navigation and radio operation, pushing her to the brink of exhaustion. He wasn't looking for a partner, he was looking for a biological vessel to carry his superior genes. In his diaries, he cataloged her traits as if she were a prize mare. It was the first step in his personal eugenics program. The Nazi's best friend. While the world watched in horror as Hitler rose to power, Lindbergh was charmed. In 1938, he planned to move his family to Berlin, writing glowing letters home about the vitality and science of Nazi Germany. He toured German aviation factories and was reportedly impressed by how the Reich was cleaning up society. It culminated in the most shameful moment of his life, standing in Berlin, smiling and accepting the Service Cross of the German Eagle from Hermann Göring himself. He wore it proudly. Even after Kristallnacht, when Jewish businesses were smashed and burned, Lindbergh refused to return the medal, calling it a great honor. Back in the U.S., he became the face of the America First movement. In his infamous Des Moines speech, he didn't just argue for peace, he openly blamed the Jewish people for the war, claiming they controlled the media and the government. He shouted that fighting Hitler would be the suicide of the white race. President Roosevelt was so enraged by Lindbergh's betrayal that he privately told his cabinet, "This man is a Nazi." The domestic concentration camp. If you think he was cold in politics, wait until you hear what he was like at home. Inside his mansion, the American Idol was a tyrant who ran his family like a military unit. He kept detailed accounting ledgers on his own children, tracking every single penny spent on their food and clothing to track inflation. He demanded absolute stoicism. He believed in survival of the fittest, even for toddlers. Once, when his little daughter wouldn't stop crying at dinner, he didn't hug her. He dragged her outside into a blizzard and locked the door. He ordered his wife, Anne, not to let her in. The child screamed in the freezing snow for nearly an hour until she went silent from cold and exhaustion. Only then did he unlock the door. He told his wife, "I am not raising children. I am raising adults." He was breaking them to see if they were tough enough to be Lindberghs. The Kidnapping Conspiracy. This cruelty casts a chilling new light on the crime of the century, the kidnapping of his son, Charles Jr. Officially, a carpenter named Bruno Hauptmann was executed. But modern detectives scream, "Cover up!" Consider the facts that don't add up. First, the dog. The family terrier, Wakush, barked at everyone, even family friends. Yet, on the night of the kidnapping, the dog was completely silent. He never barked once. That suggests the intruder was someone the dog knew and trusted. Second, the ladder. It reportedly broke under the kidnapper's weight, yet police found no indentations in the soft mud below the window. How can a man fall with a baby and leave no mark in the dirt? Third, the body itself. When the baby was found in the woods months later, the coroner noted a terrifying detail. The child's heart and liver were missing, not eaten by animals, but seemingly removed. This gruesome detail links back to Lindbergh's obsession with organ preservation. And finally, the cremation. This is the smoking gun. Instead of investigating why his son's organs were missing, Lindbergh ordered an immediate cremation. Right then and there. No second autopsy. He burned the evidence within hours. Why would an innocent father destroy the only chance to find out how his son really died? The secret harem in Europe. But the secret that finally destroyed his legacy only came out in 2003, decades after his death. A DNA test revealed that while Lindbergh was lecturing America on Christian moral values, he was running a harem in Europe. At age 55, he started a triple life. He had 3 mistresses simultaneously: a hatmaker named Brigitte in Munich, her own sister Marietta in Switzerland, and his German secretary Valeska. It is mind-boggling. The man, obsessed with order, managed to visit each family for a few days a year, always wearing a disguise, dark glasses, a slouch hat, and a trench coat. He kept strict schedules to ensure the women never met, even though 2 of them were sisters. He maintained this life for nearly 20 years, paying for apartments and schools with secret bank accounts. The man without a name. He fathered 7 secret children across these 3 families. But here is the most heartbreaking detail. He never told them who he was. He introduced himself to his children as Careu Kent, an eccentric American writer who was always traveling. The children loved him. They sat on his lap, played with the toys he brought from America, and cried when he left. They had no idea their father was the most famous man in the world. They only knew him as the man who drove a Volkswagen Beetle and brought chocolates. When he was dying of lymphoma in Hawaii in 1974, he orchestrated his funeral down to the minute, choosing the hymns and the coffin. But he never confessed. He left his faithful wife, Anne, who had stood by him through the kidnapping and the Nazi scandals, to find out the truth from the tabloids 30 years later. Charles Lindbergh was an aviator, a hero, a traitor, and a liar. He is the ultimate proof that history is written by the winners, but the truth always finds a way out of the grave. Subscribe for more dark history.